The Praetorians of the Emperor, staunch defenders of Terra, the Imperial Fists are the 7th Space Marine Legion, and therefore are the next in this Space Marine series. This series is aimed at those who want to get a feel for the Space Marine Legions before delving deeper. Like the other Space Marine Legions, the Imperial Fists have their specialisms. They are masters of the bolter, they specialise in heavy ordnance, they specialise in fortifications. Rogal Dorn did supervise the construction of the defence of the Imperial Palace after all. Whereas Horus could storm any fortification, Rogal Dorn could defend any fortification. But the important thing for the Imperial Fists is that they know how to build empires. Sure, any legion could decimate a population, could destroy a planet, but the Imperial Fists could rebuild it and get the population working for the Imperium. The legions themselves were initially raised by the Emperor from Terra during the Unification Wars, and soon became the Emperor's own personal Praetorians. This trust bestowed by the Emperor on the Imperial Fists is still seen as a great honour and pride, even for the Legion to this day. Their Primarch, like the others scattered across the galaxy, we know Rogal Dorn spent his formative years on an ice world called Inwit. Inwit is an ice world, a world seemingly devoid of any value, a world orbiting a dying star. The population were nomadic, with rival clans and tribes of people, which would lead to clashes between the rivals. The people, although hardened, were importantly survivors. They had strong resolve, cared about the survival of their own kin over themselves. Traits that we can see in Rogal Dorn. You would think, being nomadic and from a planet of little worth, the population would be at mercy to others. You would be wrong. The people of Inwit, they managed to build small spacefaring war fleets and went on to establish a small empire. Rogal Dorn would eventually go on to lead this empire, and with the coming of the Emperor, Rogal Dorn would give himself over to his father aboard the Phalanx. The Imperium of Man would not only gain back a Primarch that day, but they would also gain the strength of a small empire. Dorn would go on to take control of the Imperial Fists, and on the whole, he was a pretty good leader. He would lead by example, and would only ask of his Gene sons what he would expect of himself. The Imperial Fist played some big roles in the Great Crusade, and it could be a video all in itself. But the Imperial Fist would take part in several large conflicts, such as the Ulanor Crusade. This was important to the Imperium of Man, as this was the largest contingent of orcs defeated by the Imperium, and marked a high point in the Great Crusade. In the wake of this campaign is where Horus would become War Master, where the story we all know really takes a turn through jealousy, deceit, and of course, some chaos influence. We would eventually see Horus turn on his father and those brothers who would not stand by his side. As mentioned earlier in the video, Rogal Dorn would be tasked with designing and overseeing the construction of the Imperial Palace's defences. The Imperial Fists would of course have big parts to play during the Horus Heresy, including the defence of Terra. And I will of course do a whole Horus Heresy series if people want to know more about each legion's roles, as this can honestly have hours upon hours of information. After the Heresy, Rogal Dorn would become an avenging son, and the Imperial Fist would destroy fortress after fortress during the Great Scouring. And when presented with the Codex Astartes, Dorn, like Vulcan and Leman Russ, would initially refuse. After some advice, however, from Auriax Dantilion, he would finally relent, and we would get some of the most popular second foundings in Warhammer 40k, the Black Templars and the Crimson Fists. Now, to take a look at the present, with the Imperial Fist, you would notice that Rogal Dorn is gone. Some believe that he died fighting a Chaos Fleet during the First Black Crusade, but with only his hand, or supposed hand, being discovered. This leaves us up for discussion. There is a theory that he is part of Trazyn the Infinite's collection, still alive. Either way, to this day, the Imperial Fists remain active, even being involved in the 4th Tyrannic Wars. This was a brief overview on the Imperial Fists, and next up in this series will be the Night Lords, so we all know that one's going to be fun. Make sure to subscribe if you are new. I'm Luke from Not the Tabletop. I will see you next time.